I.e., was hand-planing walnut when my boy came downstairs for a glass of water. Superman pajamas, cowlick sticking up like it always did. 9:15 on a Tuesday night, week before Thanksgiving. I'd been working since he got home from school, 58 hours into a custom kitchen job, the kind of work that still mattered in a world of particle board and staple guns. Dad? Danny stood in the workshop doorway, cup in hand. Can I ask you something? Sure, buddy. I kept the plane moving, shavings curling off the blade like ribbon. Why did Mom tell me not to say his name? My hands stopped. The plane sat frozen mid-stroke. Everything went quiet. Saw silent, radio off, just the sound of my own breathing and the wood stove ticking. What name, buddy? He shifted, realized he'd said something wrong. Mr. Peters, from Mom's office. He came to my soccer game. I told Danny to go brush his teeth. Didn't trust my voice for anything else. He went upstairs, and I stood there in my workshop with a half-planed cabinet door in a world that had just shifted about 3 degrees off its axis. Mr. Peters, I knew who that was. Brent Peters. Worked at the law firm on Main Street, the one that handled foreclosures and divorces. Linda had mentioned him a few times, something about updating her will, some paperwork she was handling through the office where she did bookkeeping 3 days a week. But he'd been at Danny's soccer game. I'd been 3 towns over that Saturday, delivering a dining set to a couple in Marion. Linda said she'd take Danny. She did. Peters came too. I set the plane down, careful, hands steadier than they had any right to be. Walked to the house, poured myself a cup of coffee from the pot I'd made at 6 that morning. Cold now. Tasted like ash, but I drank it anyway. Sat down at the kitchen table, the table I'd built 12 years ago, tongue and groove walnut, never wobbled once, and waited. Linda's book club let out at 10. She'd been going every Tuesday for the past 3 months. Book club, right. The clock on the wall ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Upstairs, I could hear the water running while Danny brushed his teeth, then his footsteps padding to his room. The house settled into quiet, the kind that should have felt peaceful but instead felt like waiting for a storm. Headlights swept through the kitchen window at 10:47, late but not unusual. Her car door slammed. Keys in the lock. I sat there in the dark, hadn't bothered turning on the lights. Just me and that cold coffee and the sound of my own heartbeat. She walked in, flipped the light switch, and stopped when she saw me. Roy, why are you sitting in the dark? Who's Peters? The question came out level, calm. I'd spent the last hour and a half making sure it would. Linda froze, purse still on her shoulder. For a second I thought she might deny it, thought she might ask what I was talking about, play confused, make me feel crazy for asking. She didn't. Her shoulders dropped. Her whole body seemed to get lighter, like she'd been carrying something heavy and just set it down. I was going to tell you, she said. I just needed to be sure first. Sure of what? I didn't ask. Already knew. Sure she wanted him more than me. Sure she could make the jump. Sure she'd land on her feet. How long? She looked at the floor. Does it matter? Yeah, it matters. 6 weeks. Maybe 8. I traced the grain of the table with my thumb. Remembered building it. Remembered Linda standing in the garage watching me work. Remembered her saying it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. That was 12 years ago. Felt like yesterday. Felt like a lifetime. He came to Danny's soccer game. That got her attention. Her head snapped up. Danny told you? Kid doesn't know how to lie yet. She closed her eyes. I didn't want him to know. I told him not to say anything. Yeah, well, you put a secret in an 8-year-old and expect it to stay there. You don't know kids very well. She set her purse on the counter. Didn't come any closer. Roy, I didn't plan for this to happen. When did I miss it? The question came out before I could stop it. What game? What Saturday? 3 of them. Her voice was quiet. You were working. 3. 3 times. Another man had been at my son's games while I was out delivering furniture, installing cabinets, doing the work that paid for the house and the car and the college fund I'd been building since Danny was born. I think I should sleep in the guest room tonight, Linda said. Just tonight? The silence stretched out between us like a canyon. She turned and walked upstairs. I heard the water running in the guest bathroom, heard the door close, heard my marriage ending in real time, one small sound after another. I sat at that kitchen table until dawn. Coffee went from cold to room temperature. Light came up gray and thin through the windows. Somewhere outside, a truck went by. Probably Gene opening up the hardware store at 6, like he'd done for 40 years. I'd asked Linda how long. She'd said 6 weeks, maybe 8, but I had a feeling, the kind that sits in your gut like a stone, that how long was the wrong question entirely. The right question was how long has she been planning this, and I had a feeling I wasn't going to like the answer. Linda brought up counseling over breakfast 3 days later. Danny had already left for school. I was standing at the counter, spreading peanut butter on toast, because I'd forgotten to eat dinner the night before, and my stomach was finally reminding me it existed. I think we should see someone, she said. Talk this through. I set the knife down. A therapist. Yes. You want to fix this? I want to try. A part of me, the part that had built our house with my own hands, that had promised her father I'd take care of her, that still remembered our wedding day when everything seemed possible. That part wanted to believe her. Wanted to think, maybe we could navigate through this if we just talked it out, figured out where we went wrong, did the work. So I said yes. Dr. Brennan's office was in the next town over, above a dentist's practice. Smell of antiseptic and carpet cleaner, fake plants in the corners, one of those inspirational posters on the wall about journey and destination that didn't mean anything. What brings you here today? Dr. Brennan was maybe 55, kind eyes, the sort of voice that probably worked on most people. Linda went first. We've grown apart. Roy works all the time. I feel invisible. My turn. My wife's having an affair. I want to fix our marriage. Dr. Brennan cleared his throat and started talking about communication styles. We went 3 times. Every Tuesday evening, right after Linda's book club let out, I made reservations at Moretti's for a date night like Dr. Brennan suggested, the nice Italian place Linda used to love. She canceled the morning of. Headache. Rain check. The rain check never came. 3rd session, Dr. Brennan asked Linda what she needed from me to stay in the marriage. Long pause. Long enough I could hear the clock on the wall, the hum of the heater, someone walking down the hallway outside. I need him to be different, she finally said. Different how? I asked. She couldn't answer, or wouldn't, just sat there looking at her hands. That's when I knew. The problem wasn't something I'd done, or hadn't done. The problem was that she'd stopped wanting me, and no amount of talking was going to change that. Dr. Brennan was saying something about needs and expectations when my phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Vernon, my older brother, hadn't heard from him in 3 years. At your place. Can we talk? When I pulled into the driveway at 9:30 that night, there was a beat-to-hell Chevy truck sitting there, exhaust loud enough to wake the neighbors. Vernon was leaning against the driver's door, duffel bag at his feet, looking about 10 years older than the last time I'd seen him. Roy. Vernon. He'd walked out on his wife and 2 daughters 15 years back. Drank his way through Indiana, then Kentucky, then back to Indiana. Last I heard, he was somewhere around Evansville, working construction when he could, sleeping in his truck when he couldn't. Got nowhere else to go, he said. I can pay rent. Every reason in the world to say no. Vernon had made his choices, burned his bridges, earned his exile. Our father had been a mean drunk, and Vernon had spent 20 years proving the apple didn't fall far from the tree. But standing there in my driveway, on a Tuesday night, 3 days before Christmas, looking at my brother with his shame in his duffel bag and his rusted-out truck, I couldn't do it. Workshop apartment out back, as I said. Needs cleaning. Heat works. He nodded. Didn't thank me. Knew he didn't deserve it. Linda met him at the door when we came in. She was polite, curious, already calculating. More chaos in Roy's life, more complications. That would help her story, wouldn't it? The struggling husband who couldn't keep his life together. Danny came downstairs in his pajamas, eyes wide. Who's that? Your Uncle Vernon, I said. I have an uncle? Vernon crouched down, eye level with my boy. Yeah, buddy, the screw-up one. Danny laughed. Kids always knew when adults were telling the truth. Christmas Eve, late, I brought Vernon blankets and a space heater. He was unpacking his duffel, didn't take long, man didn't own much, and I saw a photo frame. 2 teenage girls, smiling, maybe 10 years old in the picture. His daughters. They'd be in their 30s now. They don't talk to me, Vernon said, following my eyes. Haven't in years. My fault. Why come here then? He set the photo on the shelf above the workbench. Careful, like it was made of glass. Figured I owed you one. Dad was harder on you. And our father had taught carpentry with his fists as much as his words. I'd taken most of his beatings because I was younger, smaller, easier to catch. Vernon had run as soon as he turned 18. I'd stayed because Mom needed someone. Get some sleep, I said. Christmas morning, Vernon made pancakes. Terrible pancakes, somehow burned and undercooked at the same time. Thick as rubber. Drowning in syrup to hide the taste, we ate every bite. Linda watched from the doorway, coffee in hand, face unreadable. Danny asked if Uncle Vernon was staying. For a while, I said. After breakfast, we went to church, like we did every Christmas. Lutheran service, same pews we'd sat in for 15 years. Pastor Lindholm doing the same reading from Luke he did every year. Linda drove, I sat in the passenger seat, Danny in back, humming Christmas carols off-key. In the church parking lot afterward, while Linda was chatting with Mrs. Kowalski and the other ladies, I went back to the car for my gloves. Linda's car, not my truck. The glove box was open, just a crack, but enough. Inside was a folder, blue tabs. Linda's handwriting on the front. I opened it. Custody motion, draft. 12 pages, legal formatting. Peters's firm letterhead, dated September 14th, 4 months ago. The Christmas lights, strung across the parking lot, reflected off the windshield. Red and green and gold. Festive. Behind me, I could hear people laughing, calling out Merry Christmas, making plans for dinner. I read the first page, then the second, then all 12. Every late night I'd worked. Every dinner Danny had eaten alone. Every school event I'd missed, all documented, time-stamped, photographed. Linda's handwriting in the margins. Father absent, child neglected. She hadn't just been having an affair for 6 or 8 weeks. She'd been building a case for 4 months. This wasn't passion. This wasn't a mistake. This was strategy. Linda was walking back to the car, still talking to Mrs. Kowalski. She saw me sitting in the passenger seat, folder in my hands, her face strained. She got in the driver's seat, started the car, didn't say a word. Danny climbed in back. Can we go home? I want to try my new Lego set. Linda drove. I stared at her profile. This woman I'd been married to for 32 years and realized I didn't know her at all. When were you going to tell me about this? I asked. Her hands tightened on the wheel, eyes straight ahead. When it was filed, not, I'm sorry. At the not, I can explain. When it was filed. There had been a plan, a timeline. A moment when she would have told me, probably through Peters, probably with legal papers in hand, probably with everything already decided. I just found it 4 months early. We drove home in silence. Vernon was waiting on the porch, saw my face, and knew. Christmas night, I spread the folder across my workbench. Vernon stood in the doorway, didn't say anything, just watched while I went through it page by page. September 14th, that was the date on the first draft. I pulled up the calendar on my phone, started scrolling back. September. What had happened in September? Found it. September 10th, Linda had mentioned she wasn't sleeping well. Said she needed her own space to spread out. I'd offered to call the doctor, see if she needed something for her back. She'd said no, just needed the guest room for a while. 4 days later, this motion was drafted. October entries started showing up. Dates, times, photographs. I recognized some of them. Printed out from Linda's phone, I guess. October 15th. Father's truck not in driveway at dinner time. Child ate cereal alone. I'd been installing cabinets for the Henderson job that day. Got home around 8. Danny had done his homework at the kitchen table. Made himself a bowl of Cheerios. I remembered that night because I'd felt guilty about it. Asked Danny if he was okay, if he needed anything. He'd said he was fine, showed me his math homework. We'd gone over it together. Linda had photographed his cereal bowl. November 3rd. Father missed parent-teacher conference. That was true. I'd been 3 hours away, delivering a custom bookshelf to a client in Columbus. Linda had gone, said everything was fine, Danny was doing great. She'd taken notes, showed them to me that night. She'd also documented my absence. November 8th, 12th, 19th, 22nd. Every late night, every missed dinner, every time I'd been in the workshop past Danny's bedtime. All of it photographed, time-stamped, noted in Linda's careful handwriting. The soccer games were in there too. October 7th, October 21st, November 4th. Peters, visible in the background of each photo, sitting next to Linda in the bleachers. In one of them, he was handing Danny a hot dog. I set the folder down, looked at Vernon. 4 months, I said. She's been planning this for 4 months. What are you going to do? I don't know, but I can't do nothing, Vernon nodded. You need a lawyer. Yeah, good one too. Not some kid fresh out of law school. I thought about it, pulled out my phone, scrolled through contacts, found the name I was looking for. Ed Haskins. Went to high school together. Played linebacker until he blew out his knee senior year. Went to law school instead of college ball. Had an office on Main Street, above the hardware store. Called him the next morning. Ed's receptionist was Mrs. Chen. She'd known my mother, had worked for Ed for 30 years. Roy Hutchins, she said when I walked in. Haven't seen you in here since your mother's will. I need to talk to Ed. He's expecting you. Ed's office looked like it hadn't changed since 1985. Wood paneling, law degrees on the wall, family photos, a Rotary Club plaque. He stood up when I came in, shook my hand. Roy, sit down. I slid the folder across his desk. He read it. Face got harder with each page. When he finished, he looked up. Peters drafted this? His firm's letterhead. That son of a bitch. He caught himself. Pardon my language. I've thought worse. Ed leaned back in his chair, started explaining things. Custody battles, documentation strategies, how courts look at patterns of neglect, how what looks bad on paper might have perfectly good explanations, but you've got to prove it. Roy, have you ever hit your kid? No. Missed child support, failed a drug test, got a DUI? No. None of that? Then why's she going after custody? The house is paid off, worth about $340. She wants it, and if she gets primary custody, I pay child support. Ed wrote something down. I need to pull county records, bank statements, see what else is there. This kind of planning, he tapped the folder. People who think this far ahead usually have more than one angle. What's your retainer? $5,000. And I wrote the check without hesitating. Ed stood up, walked to the window, looked down at Main Street. Peters, known him 20 years. He's always been too slick. Can you beat him? I can try. But Roy, he turned around. This gets ugly before it gets better. You ready for that? I thought about Danny. Thought about that kitchen table I'd built. Thought about the house I'd framed and roofed and wired with my own hands. Thought about 32 years of marriage, of trying to be a good man, a present father, someone who did things right. I built my house with my own hands, I said. Raised my boy to say please and thank you. I'm not losing either because she got bored. Ed nodded. Respect in his eyes? Give me a week, I'll pull what I can find. Ed called me 5 days later, New Year's Eve afternoon, asked me to come to the office. His desk was covered with bank statements, highlighted transactions, county clerk records. Sit down, Roy. I sat. He slid a paper across the desk. Bank statement, account I'd never seen before. Linda Hutchins and Brent Peters, joint account, opened September 2nd. My hands went cold. There's more. And he slid over another stack. Transfers from your business account, 8 months worth. And I looked at the numbers. 500 here, 1,200 there. Never more than 2,000 at a time. I didn't authorize these. I know you didn't. But Linda had access to the business account, right? She does your books? Yeah. She used that access. He pointed to the dates. Always Friday afternoons, when you're on job sites. Never enough to flag your attention, but over 8 months. He circled the total at the bottom, $47,000. That's embezzlement, Ed said, and Peters helped her hide it. Look at the transfer pattern. This is someone who knows how to structure transactions to avoid detection. The room felt too small, too hot. I loosened my collar. Can we get it back? We can try. But Roy, this changes everything. This isn't just divorce. This is fraud. I stood up, walked to the window. Main Street below, people going about their business. Hardware store across the way. Jean probably in there right now, helping some contractor pick out the right screws. Normal life, regular day. My wife had stolen $47,000 from me, with her lawyer boyfriend's help, while building a custody case to take my son in my house. She could have just asked, I said. My voice sounded strange, distant. For money, for the house, for a fair split, I would have given it to her. She didn't want fair, Ed said quietly. She wanted everything. And Peters helped her try to take it. I turned around. What do I do now? We build our own case. Document everything from this point forward. Every dinner with Danny, every homework session, every bedtime, and we don't give them anything to twist. Ed walked me to the door. Roy, one more thing. Assume everything's being watched. Every conversation, every minute with Danny. You're already on trial. They started it 4 months ago. We're just catching up. I drove home. Linda's car was in the driveway. Inside, she was cooking dinner. First time in weeks. Danny was at the table, doing homework. It looked so normal. It felt like a trap. January came in cold. They said it was the coldest winter in 20 years, and I believed it. Wind chill hit -15 most mornings. Pipes froze at the Henderson place. I spent 3 days thawing them with a heat gun, wrapping them in insulation, trying to keep the water running. Ed called me into his office again. Second week of January. More papers on his desk. Peter's motion, he said, sliding it across. The one they're actually filing. I read it. Legal language, but I got the gist. Pattern of emotional neglect. Father prioritizes work over child. Father absent from home during critical developmental period. Father demonstrates insufficient parental engagement. Every observation was technically true. I had worked late. Danny had eaten cereal for dinner. I had missed conferences. But the way they told it, I was some deadbeat who didn't give a damn about his kid. They're not lying, Ed said. That's what makes it effective. They're just removing all context. I was working to pay the mortgage, to save for Danny's college. I know. But on paper, without explanation, you look absent. Ed flipped to another page. Here's what we're up against. They'll bring witnesses. Your business partner, probably. He'll testify you worked long hours. Linda's coworkers, they'll say she was the primary caregiver. Maybe a neighbor who never saw your truck in the driveway at dinner time. And so what do I do? From now on, you document your parenting. Every dinner together, every homework session, every bedtime story. You build a counter-narrative. He looked at me hard. And Roy, assume everything's being documented. Every conversation, every minute with Danny. You're on trial right now. You just don't have a courtroom yet. I drove home. Linda was at the kitchen counter, looking at her phone. She glanced up when I walked in, then back down. Didn't say hello. Danny was upstairs. I could hear him moving around in his room. Linda's phone buzzed. She checked it, and something I hadn't seen in weeks crossed her face. A smile. She typed something back, quick, still smiling, then set the phone down when she noticed me watching. "What?" she said. "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Whoever was on the other end of that text made her happy, made her light up. Used to be me who did that. Not anymore. 3 days later, I was on the Henderson job site when my phone rang. Danny's school. Principal Morrison. "Mr. Hutchins, there has been an incident." I was in my truck and driving before she finished explaining. Danny had punched another kid at recess, split his lip, both boys suspended. The principal's office smelled like floor cleaner and old carpet. Danny was sitting outside on a bench, eyes red, staring at his shoes. Inside, Connor Shaw's parents were already there. Connor had a fat lip, ice pack pressed to his face. Principal Morrison walked me through it. Connor had been saying things for weeks, taunting. "Your mom's a cheater. My dad says your parents are getting divorced." Today, Danny finally snapped. "Take it back," he'd said. Connor wouldn't. Danny swung. Connor's father, Tom Shaw, worked at the feed supply, stood up. "Your family problems aren't our kid's problem." "You're right," I said. "I apologize." "Danny will apologize too." "Damn right he will." The door opened. Linda walked in, dressed for work, professional as always. She looked at Danny through the window, then at me. "What happened?" Principal Morrison explained again. Linda's jaw tightened. "This is unacceptable. Danny knows better than this." She turned to me. "This is what happens when children are exposed to instability." And there it was, the line she'd practiced, the narrative she was building. I could almost see her making a mental note. January 18th. Child exhibited violent behavior. Father's crisis causing behavioral problems. Principal Morrison was talking about consequences, 3-day suspension, in school. Danny would need to write an apology letter. "I'll make sure he does," I said. Linda added, "We both will." We were still a team. I drove Danny home in my truck. He sat in the passenger seat, silent, staring out the window. "What you did was wrong," I said. He nodded. "But I understand why you did it." He looked at me then. I just wanted him to stop saying things about Mom. My heart cracked right down the middle. 8 years old, and he was already carrying adult weight. Fighting battles I should have been handling. "Danny, listen to me. You don't have to defend her. You don't have to defend me. You're a kid. That's not your job." "Then whose job is it?" "Mine." We pulled into the driveway. Vernon was on the porch, saw my face, stood up. "What happened?" "Danny threw a punch at school. Kid was saying things about Linda." Vernon looked at Danny, then at me. "So he's fighting your fights now?" "Don't. Someone's got to say it." Vernon stepped closer, voice low so Danny couldn't hear through the truck windows. "Kid's watching you take hit after hit without swinging back. He thinks that's weakness. So he's swinging for you." I wanted to argue. Couldn't. Vernon was right. That night, I couldn't sleep. Went to the workshop around midnight. Figured I'd work on something, tire myself out. Started cutting dovetails for a chest of drawers. Nobody ordered. The table saw was loud. Too loud. Didn't bother with ear protection. Hands were shaking. Exhaustion. Cold. Everything catching up at once. The cut nearly went wrong. Piece kicked back, missed my hand by maybe an inch. Could have taken fingers. I kept cutting. Vernon appeared in the doorway. I didn't hear him come in over the saw noise. He walked over and unplugged it. The silence was sudden and huge. "What the hell?" I said. "You're gonna lose a finger, or worse." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're running a saw at midnight, with no ear protection and shaking hands." I need to finish." "Nobody ordered this." Vernon pointed at the chest. "You're hiding." I slumped onto the work stool. Everything hurt. My back, my hands, my head. Everything. "I don't know how to fight them without becoming what I hate," I said. "Your old man?" I nodded. Our father had taught with his fists, corrected mistakes with the back of his hand. I'd sworn I'd never be that kind of man. Never angry, never cruel. So I'd gone the opposite direction. Patient to a fault, slow to confront, took turn the other cheek as gospel. And look where it got me. "There's a third option," Vernon said. "Let me show you something." He pulled out his wallet, extracted a folded piece of paper, old, creased, tear-stained, handed it to me. "What is this?" "Reason I'm here. Read it." I unfolded it. Letter, handwriting I didn't recognize. "Dear Dad, I don't hate you. I'm not even angry anymore. Just sad. Sad you chose the bottle over us. Sad you left without trying. Sad I have to explain to my kids why they don't have a grandpa. I wish you'd fought for us, but you didn't. Maybe someday you'll try to make it right. Until then, take care of yourself. Sarah." I read it twice before Vernon spoke. She wrote that 10 years ago, he said. November 2015. Got forwarded to my last address. Carried it ever since. You never answered? Not for 9 years. Didn't think I deserved to. He pulled out another letter. Newer paper. Less worn. Wrote back 3 months ago. When I hit 3 years sober. Figured. Time to try. He showed me the response. Sarah had written back. They were talking now. Phone calls, careful, awkward, but real. She's got 2 girls, Vernon said. My granddaughters. 10 and 12. Never met them. Why are you telling me this? Vernon looked at me. Really looked at me. Because Sarah called me in December. Said she heard through the grapevine, you know how small towns are, that you were going through hell. That Linda was running around with some lawyer. The words settled like stones. I didn't come here because I had nowhere to go, Vernon said. I came because you needed me, and because I needed to be needed, to do one damn thing right. The workshop was quiet, except for the wood stove ticking. Cold air seeping through the gaps in the doorframe. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked, holding up both letters. Fight for Danny, but don't fight like Dad did, all rage and fists. Fight clean. Show Danny how a man loses without losing himself. I don't know if I can beat them. Peters knows the law. Linda knows every mistake I've made. You don't have to beat them. Vernon stood up. You just have to not become them. Ed called the next morning. Roy, found something. Can you come to my office tomorrow? What is it? Not over the phone, but it's good. Really good. I drove to Ed's office at 8 a.m. sharp. Mrs. Chen waved me straight through. Ed had Ohio bar rules spread across his desk. Peters' custody motion. Ethics guidelines. Peters screwed up, Ed said. Big. He showed me the regulations. Ohio Rule of Professional Conduct 1.7. A lawyer can't represent a client if there's a conflict of interest. Personal relationship with the client counts. Peters is Linda's attorney of record, Ed said. And he's her boyfriend. He never disclosed the relationship to the court. Never withdrew when it started. Can we use this? We have to report it. It's mandatory. But more than that? Ed leaned forward. It taints their whole case. Every motion he filed, every piece of advice he gave Linda, all questionable. He used his legal knowledge to help her, but he forgot the rules exist for a reason. What happens now? We file an ethics complaint with the bar. We present this at the custody hearing, and we watch their case fall apart. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to hope. When's the hearing? Ed checked his calendar. February 14th, Judge Reardon. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Valentine's Day, of course. Appropriate, in a way. Ed almost smiled. We're killing a relationship that day. But knowing we had ammunition didn't make the next 3 weeks easier. I made myself be home by 5:30 every evening. Cooked actual dinners, spaghetti, grilled cheese, pot roast, Danny at the table, talking about school. Me listening, asking questions, being present. Linda watched from the doorway sometimes. Her face unreadable. Every night, I helped Danny with homework. Math problems, spelling words, reading comprehension, not just checking answers, teaching the process. You're home a lot now, Danny said one night. Yeah, figured out some things are more important than work. Weekend came. And Vernon taught Danny how to use hand tools, building a birdhouse in the workshop. Danny's small hands careful on the chisel, Vernon guiding him, me supervising. Linda came to the workshop door, stood there watching. 3 generations working together. Content. Something crossed her face. Maybe regret. Maybe just calculation. She turned and walked away. But the tension was everywhere. February settled in, and people in town started noticing. Mrs. Kowalski from next door brought over a casserole. Ground beef, canned soup, breadcrumb top, Depression-era comfort food. Made too much, she said at the door. Thought you could use it. I thanked her, tried to close the door. She put her hand on my arm. My Henry cheated once. 30 years ago. I forgave him. She paused. Regretted it for 30 years after. Then she patted my hand and left. At the hardware store, Jean rang up my screws and didn't charge me. Jean, I can pay. I know, but you don't have to. Small town solidarity. Unspoken. Pastor Lindholm stopped by on a Thursday evening. Heard you're going through a hard time. Happy to talk, or pray, or just listen. Appreciate it, Father. But some things can't be mediated. Fair enough. But if you need anything, character reference, testimony, just coffee, I'm here. And the church ladies stopped inviting Linda to potlucks. The grapevine worked fast in small towns. Social cost was real. Linda noticed, didn't seem to care, already checked out. 3 weeks crawled by. Every day felt like walking on ice, waiting to fall through. Danny couldn't sleep the night before the hearing. Came to my room around 10, stood in the doorway. Tomorrow's the thing, right? Yeah, buddy. The The judge is going to decide if I have to choose? No. You don't have to choose. That's what grown-ups are for, making hard choices so kids don't have to. He crawled into my bed. Whatever happens, you're my boy, I said. That doesn't change. Danny fell asleep within minutes. I lay awake watching him breathe, his cowlick sticking up, his mouth slightly open like it always was when he slept. 8 years old and already carrying weight no kid should carry. I prayed. Not religious exactly, hadn't been to church except holidays in years, but just hoped. Send it out into the universe or to God or to whoever listened. Please let me keep him. Morning came cold and clear, Valentine's Day. Vernon was already up when I got to the kitchen. Had coffee going. Scared? He asked. Terrified. Good. Means you care. We sat there in silence, just brothers drinking coffee, while the sun came up. You're not Dad, Vernon said finally. You know that, right? I don't want to be. Then you won't be. You're fighting for Danny. Dad only fought for his own pride. 7:30, time to go. Vernon rode with me, radio off. Just engine noise and cold morning air. I parked at the courthouse. Limestone building, built 1923, solid, permanent. Linda's car was already there, Peter's BMW beside it. Vernon looked at me. Ready? No, but let's go anyway. We walked toward the steps. The courthouse doors were heavy oak. About to open them when I saw something. Linda through the window, sitting on a bench. Peter's beside her, talking, gesturing, building his case right up to the last minute. And Linda looked up, small, uncertain. For just a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the folder. The $47,000. The 4 months of planning. The doors opened. Inside smelled like floor cleaner and fear. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, acoustic tile ceiling. Judge Reardon sat at the bench, woman, maybe 65, reading glasses on a chain, the kind of face that had seen every lie and excuse in the book. Ed and I sat at one table, Linda and Peters at the other, Vernon in the gallery behind me. The bailiff called the case. Hutchins custody matter. Judge Reardon looked over her glasses. Counsels, this is a temporary custody hearing. Keep it brief. Ms. Hutchins, you're petitioning for primary custody. Linda stood. Yes, Your Honor. Peters couldn't represent her. Conflict of interest already filed. So Linda was speaking for herself with some other lawyer from Peters' firm doing the paperwork. But Peters was there, at her table, whispering advice. Couldn't help himself. Proceed, Judge Reardon said. Linda's case took an hour. Photos of my truck gone at dinner time. Time-stamped. School records showing missed conferences. Danny's teacher's notes about his recent behavioral issues. The cereal bowl. The late nights. Your Honor, Linda said, voice steady. I love my husband, but Danny needs stability. Roy provides financially, but not emotionally. He works 70-hour weeks. Our son eats cereal for dinner. Roy missed parent-teacher conferences, field day, the fall festival. He's a good man, but he's not a present father. She sat down. Judge Reardon looked at me. Hutchins? Ed stood. Your Honor, may I? Go ahead. Ed called me first, put me on the stand. Mr. Hutchins, why were you working those hours? To pay our mortgage, save for Danny's college, build a life for my family. Have your hours changed recently? Yes, ma'am. Home by 5:30 every night now. Oh, why the change? I looked at Danny's empty chair. He was with Linda's mother in Columbus. Didn't need to see this. I realized some things matter more than work. My son matters most. Linda's substitute lawyer cross-examined. Convenient timing, Mr. Hutchins. Yes, I said. I wish I'd done it sooner. She didn't expect that. Sat down. Ed called Ms. Raymond next, Danny's teacher. She was nervous, kept smoothing her skirt. How is Danny doing in class? Better recently, much better. He talks about his father constantly. Very proud of the projects they build together. Has his behavior improved? Yes. The incident with Connor Shaw was unfortunate, but Danny's been calmer since, more focused. Jean testified next. Known Roy 30 years, solid man, works hard. Recently, he's been more present with his boy. See them at the hardware store together on Saturdays now. Mrs. Kowalski came up. At 79, she didn't take any nonsense. Roy's a good neighbor, good father. Made mistakes, but he's learning. That's more than most men do. Ed sat down, looked at me. Time. Your Honor, Ed said, standing again. We need to address an ethical issue. Peters shifted in his seat. Ed approached the bench with documents. Mr. Peters has been acting as Mrs. Hutchins' attorney while also being in a romantic relationship with her. He never disclosed this conflict of interest. Ohio Rule of Professional Conduct 1.7. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Judge Reardon took the papers, read them. Her face didn't change, but her knuckles went white on the pen. "Mr. Peters," she said. "Approach." But Peters stood, walked to the bench like a man going to the gallows. "Are you in a romantic relationship with Mrs. Hutchins?" "Your Honor, my personal life doesn't impact my professional—" "Answer the question." Silence. "Yes," Peters finally said. "Did you disclose this conflict to the court?" No, Your Honor." And did you draft the custody motion dated September 14th? "Yes." "Did you advise Mrs. Hutchins on asset protection strategies?" Peters glanced at Linda. She was staring at the table. "Yes, Your Honor." Judge Reardon set down her pen. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, deadly quiet. "Mr. Peters, you opened a joint bank account with your client. You drafted legal motions while romantically involved with her. You advised her on marital asset division while sleeping with her. Do you understand how far over the line you are?" "Your Honor, I'm not finished." She looked at the court reporter. "Let the record show that all motions filed by Brent Peters in this matter are stricken. A bar complaint will be filed by this court. Mr. Peters, you are removed from this case effective immediately." Peters' face went gray. Judge Reardon looked at Linda. "Mrs. Hutchins, get better representation." Then she turned to me. "Mr. Hutchins, the recent improvements noted by witnesses are commendable. Continue that progress." She closed the file. "Temporary joint custody, week on, week off, pending full evaluation. Forensic audit of marital accounts. I want to know where that $47,000 went. Mandatory co-parenting counseling. We'll reconvene in 90 days. The gavel came down. It was over. In the hallway, Ed shook my hand. Vernon clapped my shoulder. "Joint custody," Ed said. "Audit ordered. Peters is done." I sat down on the bench, put my head in my hands. Not triumph, just exhaustion. "You did it," Ed said. "You kept your boy. Doesn't feel like winning. It's not supposed to, but it's justice." Linda walked past with her new lawyer, didn't look at me. Peters followed behind, already on his phone, probably calling his own lawyer. Vernon and I walked out into the February cold, got in the truck. I just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, engine running. "You okay?" Vernon asked. "Yeah, no, I don't know." We drove to Danny's school. I'd gotten permission to pick him up early. He came out the front doors, backpack over one shoulder, looking for my truck, saw me and ran. I got out. He hit me like a linebacker, arms around my waist. "Is it over?" "Yeah, buddy." "Did you win?" "We both did, you and me." He pulled back, looked up at me. "Can we get pie?" I almost laughed. "Yeah, we can get pie." Millie's Diner at 2:30, lunch rush over, Denise working the counter. "Heard it went okay," she said, setting down 2 plates. Cherry pie, vanilla ice cream. "Glad for you, Roy." Thanks, Denise." She left us alone in the corner booth. Danny picked at his crust, quiet. "You okay?" I asked. "Are you and Mom gonna be okay?" The question I'd been dreading. "No, buddy, we're not." He nodded. Expected that answer. "Are you gonna be okay?" "Yeah, takes time, but yeah." Am I gonna be okay?" I reached across the table, took his hand. "You're gonna be more than okay. You and me, we're gonna be fine." He thought about that, took a bite of pie. "Can Uncle Vernon come to my next soccer game?" "Yeah, he can." "You too?" "Wouldn't miss it." We finished our pie. Danny told me about a book he was reading. Something about dragons. I listened to every word. In the truck after, Danny said, "Dad, I'm sorry I got in that fight at school." I know, but Danny, sometimes standing up for people you love means you get hurt. That's okay. Just gotta choose your battles." "Is that what you did? Chose your battle?" "Yeah, I chose you." He was quiet until we got home. Then, "What do we do now?" "We keep going, one day at a time." Vernon was on the porch when we pulled up, had his coat on. "How'd it go?" "Joint custody, Peters is out, audit ordered." Vernon nodded. "That's good, that's real good." Danny ran inside to change. Vernon and I stood there in the cold. "You did right," Vernon said. "Fought clean, won clean. Still lost my marriage." "You lost a woman who stopped wanting you. You kept your dignity and your boy. That's not losing." Maybe he was right. Inside, Danny was asking if we could build something this weekend. "What do you want to build?" I called up the stairs. "Something for Mom, so she knows I still love her." My heart cracked and healed at the same time. "Yeah, buddy, we can do that." That weekend, we built Linda a jewelry box. Danny picked the wood, walnut, like our kitchen table, said he wanted it to last. In the workshop, I showed him how to cut dovetails. The strongest joint. Holds without nails, without glue, if you do it right. Just wood fitted together so precise it can't come apart. Like this? Danny's hands were small on the chisel. I guided them. Little bit more. There. Feel how it wants to go that way? Yeah. Vernon was in the corner, sanding brass hinges we'd picked up from Jean's, humming off key like he always did. Some old country song I didn't recognize. Will Mom like it? Danny asked. She'll love it because you made it. He worked careful, concentrating, tongue between his teeth the way he did when something mattered. Dad, are you mad at her? I stopped planning, thought about it. I'm hurt, but I'm not mad at you for loving her. Can you be hurt and not mad? Yeah, that's called being a grown-up. Doesn't always make sense. Sunday we finished it, brass hinges attached, linseed oil rubbed into the wood until it glowed. Danny ran his hand over the top. We made this, he said. You made it, I just helped. Monday, he took it to Linda's house. It was her week. I pulled into the driveway, Danny in the passenger seat with the box wrapped in newspaper. Linda came to the door, looked surprised to see me. Usually I just dropped him at the curb. He's got something for you, I said. Danny carried the box up the steps. Linda unwrapped it right there on the porch. Her hands stopped when she saw what it was. Danny, her voice cracked. Did you make this? Dad helped, but mostly me. She opened it. The hinges worked smooth. The inside was lined with felt Vernon had found in his truck. Said it was left over from some job he did years ago. Linda started crying. Real tears, not the performative kind. She pulled Danny close. It's beautiful, she said. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Over Danny's shoulder, she looked at me. Something passed between us. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. Just acknowledgement of what had been, of what was lost, of what we were both trying to protect. Thank you, she said. I nodded. Got back in my truck, drove away. Danny called that night. She put it on her dresser, said she's going to keep her wedding ring in it. I didn't know what to say to that. February ended. March came in wet and cold, but the days were getting longer. You could feel spring underneath the winter, pushing up through the frozen ground. The house went on the market mid-March. For sale sign. In the yard I'd planted grass in front of the porch I'd built, attached to the house I'd framed and roofed with my own hands. Showing started. Strangers walking through, opening closets, checking water pressure, talking about what they'd change. This wall would come down, these floors would get refinished, that outdated kitchen would be gutted. Felt like watching vultures pick over something still breathing. The house sold in 2 weeks. Young couple, first-time buyers, excited about the space. The woman loved the kitchen cabinets, said whoever built them knew what they were doing. Closing was at the title company. Linda and I sat on opposite sides of the table, didn't speak except to sign papers. The check split 50-50, minus the $47,000 she'd taken. When the clerk slid Linda her check, something crossed her face. Regret, maybe. Recognition of what it cost. She'd wanted everything. Ended up with half, minus what she stole, minus her reputation, minus Peter's. He dumped her 2 weeks after the hearing, once his bar review got serious. Outside, Linda stood by her car. I walked to my truck. Roy? I stopped, didn't turn around. I'm sorry, she said. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I looked at her then. This woman I'd been married to for 32 years, mother of my son, stranger now. Yeah, I said. Me too, that was all. No dramatic confrontation, no screaming. Just two people who'd built a life together, then burned it down. Standing in a parking lot with nothing left to say, I drove away. Finding a new place took 3 weeks. Vernon came with me to every showing. We looked at houses in town, houses out in the county, even a couple farms that needed too much work. Found it on a Tuesday, 3 miles outside town. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that needed updating but had good bones, and a workshop, not attached to a garage. Standalone building, twice the size of my old one. This is it, I said. Vernon walked the property, checked the foundation, the roof, the well house. Needs some work, he said, but it's solid. Where do you sleep? He looked at me. Roy, you don't have to. Workshop's got an apartment upstairs, needs cleaning, heat works. Vernon's eyes got wet. He turned away, pretended to check the well pump. You're staying, I said. Long as you want. Then I'm staying. We moved in April. Vernon and I did most of it ourselves. Ed helped load furniture. Gene loaned us his truck for the big stuff. Mrs. Kowalski brought sandwiches and lemonade, supervised from the porch. Danny's room went together first. His bed, his posters, his books. Vernon built him a shelf for the jewelry box materials. Danny wanted to make more, said Miss. Raymond's birthday was coming up. Can we make one for my teacher? Danny asked that first Friday he came to stay. What kind? Surprise. Something she'll use. We spent Saturday planning it, Sunday building. Danny was getting better with the tools. His cuts were straighter, his measurements more precise. He was learning. Monday morning he went to school early, excited to tell Ms. Raymond about his weekend. Vernon made pancakes, getting better at those too, almost edible now, and we sat at the table in the new kitchen. Feels like home, Vernon said. Getting there. It wasn't the house I'd built, wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was something. And maybe something was enough. Outside, spring was pushing through, buds on the trees, grass greening up, the world waking up after the coldest winter in 20 years. Inside, we were waking up too. April settled into routine. Danny with Linda weekdays, with me weekends. Friday pickup, Monday drop-off. We made it work. The custody schedule wasn't perfect. Danny had to pack a bag every week, shuttle between houses, keep track of which homework was where, but he adapted. Kids are resilient that way, more resilient than adults. Friday evenings became our time. I'd pick him up from school, and we'd stop at Millie's for dinner. Just us. No phones, no TV, just conversation. He'd tell me about his week, what happened in class, who said what at lunch, how his book report went. I listened to every word. Saturdays were for projects. We finished Ms. Raymond's jewelry box by mid-April. Walnut again, but smaller than Linda's. Danny added a secret compartment, his idea, because Miss Raymond liked mysteries. She's gonna love this, Vernon said, inspecting the work. Danny presented it to her on a Monday, called me that night, voice excited. Dad, she cried. Put it on her desk and showed all the other teachers. She said, I should be a carpenter like you. You can be whatever you want, buddy. I know, but maybe a carpenter. Building things feels good. Yeah, it did. The custody arrangement meant I saw Linda twice a week, Monday mornings, Friday afternoons, driveway exchanges. She'd hand Danny off with his backpack, I'd check that he had his homework, and that was it. We didn't talk beyond logistics. He has a dentist appointment Tuesday. Parent-teacher conference is the 18th. Basic coordination, nothing more. Sometimes I'd see her face, looking tired. Lines I didn't remember. She'd lost weight, hair different. Peters was gone. Heard through the grapevine he'd left town. Took a job in Cincinnati. Trying to outrun the bar review. Linda was alone in that big house, the one we'd built together. Or I'd built, anyway, and she'd made into a home. Now it was just her, rattling around in 4 bedrooms and too much quiet. I didn't feel sorry for her. But I didn't feel satisfaction either. Just nothing. The marriage was over. The anger was gone. What was left was just 2 people who used to love each other, trying to co-parent a kid who deserved better than what we'd given him. One Saturday in late April, Danny and I started on a treehouse, his idea. Saw one at Connor Shaw's house. They'd made peace after the fight and wanted one too. Vernon helped. We spent the morning picking the right tree, old oak in the backyard, thick branches, good and solid. Spent the afternoon designing it on paper. Measurements, load calculations, where the ladder would go. Can we put a roof on it? Danny asked. We can. And a window? Sure. And maybe a trapdoor? Getting ambitious. You always say, measure twice, cut once. So I'm measuring a lot. Vernon laughed. Kid's got your brain, Roy. We worked through the afternoon. Got the platform framed, secured to the trunk. Decided to stop there for the day. Still needed to cut decking boards. Inside, Vernon made dinner. Spaghetti, garlic bread, salad from a bag. Nothing fancy, but it was hot and filling. After dinner, Danny did homework at the kitchen table. I sat with him, helped with his math. Fractions. He was getting it, slowly. Dad? Yeah. I'm glad we moved here. Yeah? Yeah, it's smaller. But it feels, I don't know, right. Vernon was at the sink, washing dishes. Didn't turn around, but his shoulders relaxed. He felt it too. Home wasn't the house you built. It was the people in it. May brought warmth, real warmth, not just the promise of it. Trees fully leafed out, grass thick and green. The workshop stayed cool during the day, warm at night. The treehouse went up board by board. Roof on by mid-May, trapdoor installed. Danny painted a sign. Danny's Fort. You don't want my name on it? I asked. It's ours, but I built most of it. Fair enough. He started sleeping in it Friday nights when the weather was good. Sleeping bag, pillow, flashlight. He'd be up there reading or just looking at stars until Vernon or I made him come down for bed. One Saturday night, warm and clear, he asked if I wanted to sleep up there with him. We dragged up sleeping bags, lay on the plywood floor looking through the window at the sky. No moon, stars everywhere. Vernon told me something, Danny said after a while. Yeah? He said you could have been mean when Mom left, when everything happened. But you weren't. I didn't say anything. Didn't know what to say. Why weren't you mean? He asked. I thought about it. About my father. About his fists. About the man I'd sworn never to become. About Linda and Peters and the $47,000 and the custody fight. About all the ways I could have been cruel, could have poisoned Danny against his mother, could have made everything worse. Because being mean wouldn't have kept you, I finally said. And you're what matters. He was quiet for a minute, then, I'm glad you're my dad. My throat went tight. Me too, buddy. We lay there listening to the night. Crickets, distant cars, the oak tree creaking in the wind. Dad? Yeah? Do you think Mom's okay? There it was, the question I'd been dreading, because Danny loved her, still loved her, despite everything. And that was right. That was how it should be. I think she's figuring things out, I said. Just like we are. But she's alone. Yeah, she is. Is that our fault? No, buddy, that's not our fault. Sometimes people make choices that leave them alone. That's on them, not on you. I still love her. I know, that's okay. You should. Another long silence. Danny shifted in his sleeping bag. I love you too, he said, quiet, like maybe he thought I didn't know. I know, buddy. I love you too. We fell asleep up there. Woke up to dawn light, dew on the sleeping bags, Vernon calling up from the ground that pancakes were ready. Danny scrambled down the ladder. I followed slower, joints reminding me I was 64, and sleeping on plywood wasn't what it used to be. But it was worth it. Every minute was worth it. The final hearing was scheduled for late May, 90 days from the temporary order. Ed called to remind me. Should be straightforward, he said. Audit came back clean, well, except for the $47,000 Linda took. Judge will probably make the joint custody permanent, maybe adjust the schedule based on what's working. What do I need to do? Show up, bring documentation of your time with Danny, and Roy, keep doing what you're doing. Judge Reardon likes to see follow-through. The hearing was on a Thursday. Lynn and I sat in the same courtroom, Vernon in the gallery again. Ed presented the audit results, my documentation of parenting time, letters from Ms. Raymond and Jean and Pastor Lindholm. Judge Reardon reviewed everything, looked over her glasses at both of us. The audit shows significant financial irregularity, she said. Miss Hutchins, you'll be repaying that $47,000. We'll work out a schedule. Linda nodded, face pale. Joint custody is made permanent, week on, week off. Holidays split per the standard schedule. Both parents are required to maintain co-parenting counseling for 6 months. The gavel came down. Final. Outside, Linda stood by her car. I walked past. Roy? I stopped. He talks about you all the time, she said. The treehouse, the workshop, Vernon's pancakes. He's happy. Yeah, he is. You're a good father. The words I'd needed to hear 4 months ago. Too late now. I'm trying, I said. That was all. I got in my truck and drove to pick up Danny from school. He was waiting on the steps, backpack ready. All done? He asked when I pulled up. All done. So nothing changes? Nothing changes. He smiled. Good. Can we work on the treehouse when we get home? I want to add a rope ladder. Yeah, buddy. We can do that. And we did. Summer came, school let out. Danny spent his weekdays with Linda, but she agreed to let him have more time at my place since he wasn't in school. Most mornings, she'd drop him off around 9. I'd be in the workshop, Vernon already there with coffee going. We'd work until noon. Vernon taught Danny things I'd never gotten around to teaching him. How to sharpen a chisel properly. How to read wood grain. How to plane a board so thin you could almost see through the shavings. Your dad's got steadier hands, Vernon would say, but I got more patience for teaching. He learned from Dad, and Dad wasn't much for explaining. Danny soaked it up, asked questions, tried things, made mistakes, learned. By July, he could cut a decent dovetail. Not perfect, but solid. The kind of work that would hold. One Saturday morning, Danny woke up early, found me in the kitchen with coffee, watching the sun come up through the window. Can we build something today? He asked. What do you want to build? He thought about it. Nothing specific, just build something. So we did. Went out to the workshop, looked through the wood stock. Danny picked out a piece of cherry, nice board, figured grain, been saving it for something special. What's this going to be? I asked. I'll know when I see it. He started cutting, measured twice, cut once. I watched, didn't interfere unless he asked. Vernon sanded something in the corner, humming his off-key songs. By afternoon, it was taking shape. A box, not a jewelry box this time. Bigger, deeper. What's it for? Vernon asked. Memories, Danny said. Things I want to keep. He worked careful, added a lid with piano hinges, lined the inside with cedar. Vernon's suggestion said it'd keep things from getting musty. Finished it by dinner time. Sat back, admired it. That's good work, I said. Thanks. He took it to his room, came back an hour later, said he'd put in the photo from our first night in the treehouse. Vernon had taken it, me and Danny, in our sleeping bags, smiling at the camera. A rock from the creek behind the house. The instruction manual from his Lego set, the one Linda had given him for Christmas. Things I want to remember, he said. Good things? Some good, some just things that happened. Want to remember all of it. Wise for a kid. Wiser than I'd been at his age. Wiser than I'd been at 64, if I was honest. August came and went. Danny's birthday, 9 years old now. We had a party at the house. His friends came, including Connor Shaw. They'd gotten past the fight, turned into actual friends. Kids were better at forgiveness than adults. Linda came too, brought a cake, stayed for the party, chatted with Vernon, complimented the treehouse, told Danny how proud she was. Before she left, she pulled me aside. He's growing up, she said. Yeah, you're doing a good job with him. We both are. She smiled, sad smile, but real. No, you are. I'm just trying not to mess it up worse than I already did. I didn't know what to say to that. Thank you, she said, for not turning him against me. You could have. Would have been easy. He loves you. That's not something I can take away. Wouldn't want to. She nodded, got in her car, drove away. Danny waved from the porch. September rolled around, school starting, 4th grade. Danny was excited, Ms. Raymond was teaching 4th this year, so he'd have her again. The Saturday before school started, we finished the treehouse, added a rope ladder like Danny wanted. Vernon installed a pulley system so Danny could haul things up without climbing down. What's left? Vernon asked, surveying our work. Nothing, Danny said. It's done. And we stood back, looked at it. Treehouse in the oak, solid, built to last. You did good work, buddy, I said. We did good work. Yeah, we did. That night, Danny asked if we could sleep in the treehouse one more time before school started. Make it a tradition, he said. Last night of summer. We dragged up sleeping bags. Vernon declined, said his back couldn't take plywood anymore, but he brought us up sandwiches and lemonade, stood at the base of the tree. You two have fun, he said. I'll be inside if you need me. Me and Danny lay there. As the stars came out, same view as that first night. Same crickets, same oak tree creaking, same peaceful quiet. Dad? Yeah, buddy. This was a good summer. Yeah, it was. Better than last year. Last year, Linda's still in the house. Marriage falling apart. Everything crumbling. Seemed like a lifetime ago now. Yeah, I said. Better than last year. Think next year will be even better? I thought about it, about the routine we'd built. The custody schedule that worked, Vernon's permanent place in our lives, Danny's growing skills in the workshop, the way we'd learn to navigate what was broken and build something new. Yeah, I said. I think it will be. Danny shifted in his sleeping bag. Dad? Yeah? I'm glad everything happened. And that caught me off guard. What? I mean, I'm sad you and Mom aren't together, but I'm glad we moved here. Glad Uncle Vernon stayed. Glad we built the treehouse. Glad you're home more. He paused. I'm glad I know you now, like really know you. My chest got tight. I'm glad too, buddy. If none of it happened, you'd still be working all the time. I'd still be eating cereal for dinner. We wouldn't have built anything. That's true. So maybe it was bad, but maybe it made things better. Does that make sense? Yeah, I said. It makes sense. Because he was right. I'd lost my marriage, lost the house I'd built, lost the life I'd planned. But I'd gained something I didn't know I was missing. I'd gained time with my son. Real time, present time, the kind of time you can't get back once it's gone. Dad? Yeah? Love you. Love you too, buddy. We lay there until sleep came. Tomorrow, school would start, the routine would shift again, Danny would grow up a little more, life would keep moving forward, the way it always does. But tonight, we were here, in a treehouse we'd built together, under stars that didn't care about divorce, or custody battles, or stolen money. And that was enough. More than enough. Vernon's pancakes would be waiting in the morning. 5 years on, I still think about that winter. The coldest one in 20 years, they said. Felt colder than that. I think about the night Danny came downstairs for water, about the folder in Linda's car, about sitting at Ed's desk looking at $47,000 in transfers, about the courthouse on Valentine's Day and the cherry pie after. Mostly, I think about what I almost became. My father taught with his fists, corrected mistakes with the back of his hand. I spent 30 years trying not to be him, patient to a fault, slow to confront, taking every hit because I thought that's what good men did. Turns out there's a third way. You can fight without becoming cruel. You can set boundaries without raising your voice. You can lose your marriage without losing yourself. Danny's 13 now, taller than Vernon, almost as tall as me, still comes every weekend. Still works in the workshop, though now he's teaching me things, showed me a trick with router bits he learned in shop class. Vernon's still here, 73, slowed down some, but he's family now. Talks to his daughters every Sunday, saw his granddaughters for the first time last Christmas. They called him Grandpa. He cried. Linda's in that big house still. We're cordial now. Not friends, but not enemies. She comes to Danny's soccer games. Sits on the other side of the bleachers. We wave. That's enough. Some things can't be fixed. That kitchen table I built, the one with tongue and groove walnut that never wobbled, Linda kept it. It's still in that house, still solid. But what happened around it can't be undone. That's okay. Because some things can be built. A treehouse, a jewelry box, a Saturday morning routine, a relationship with your kid based on presence, not just provision, a life that's smaller but feels right. This morning, Danny came down for breakfast, Vernon's pancakes, finally learned to make them without burning, coffee steaming, spring sun through the kitchen window. Can we build something today? Danny asked. Same question he's been asking for 5 years now. Yeah, buddy, I said. We can build something. And we will. We always do. Because that's what you do when things break. You don't just sit in the rubble. You pick up your tools, you measure twice, you cut once, and you build something that'll last.